Hey everyone, it's Kep here. This is going to be a unscripted Frost video. I would like to let you know that I am working on the Veruna video, but there's a lot of things I need to learn, like video editing and script reading, and there's a lot. I it's my first time doing like a high quality, high polish YouTube video. That's something that's not unscripted. So it is definitely going to take a little bit for me to figure things out. But nonetheless, it is on the way, and hopefully I can get it out, soonish rather than laterish. But yeah, this is going to be a Frost build, and Frost is kind of a staple frame to me. Frost is who I go back to when I'm done playing with some interesting build. And yeah, I love Frost a lot. I have been using Frost for a super long time. If you look at the stats on my account, I have points in the Grenier Informer, which is the very first operation on Warframe. So this is a very, very old account. If we go to my equipment, I have Valkyr, Paris Prime, Lex Prime, and Glaive Prime, which are all very old weapons. And if we go to my Warframes most used, I actually have Frost Prime in my third, behind normal Ash and normal Valkyr, which is really, really funny. So I have played a lot of Frost in my years, dare I say, and I can definitely say for sure he's a different beast than who he was. That's not to say that he's bad now, but back in the day he probably was a little bit more appreciated, as opposed to now where there's probably a different Warframe that can do exactly what Frost does, but just marginally better. It's hard to tell. Frost in this particular use case though is very, very good. So I'm going to spawn some enemies and I'm going to show you what the deal is. We are going to shoot these enemies a little bit. We're going to get that sweet, sweet 12 times. Those guys are basically going to die. We're going to spawn them again. We're going to consume our combo. Oh, that didn't work. You're kidding me? Okay, give me a second. There we go. So we got our secondary outburst to proc. We're going to spawn some new enemies over here. We're going to burn our avalanche and then boom. Boom, bam, boom, boom, boom. 8.5 million. Because I'm cool like that. Body shots are enough to kill them. When you strip armor off of basically any armor target, they turn into like a wet napkin. This is maybe the Epitaph Prime is a little bit, overzealous for that use case, but yeah. I'm not going to get super duper into it, but the Epitaph Prime has something really cool called double crit. And I don't know a lot about double crit, as much as maybe some other weird interactions in Warframe. But I do know that double crit applies to some weapons in this game, and it only applies through certain buffs. Whereas double crit, I'm pretty sure, doesn't actually apply with crit chance mods, but it does apply with outside sources of crit chance, aka Frost's Biting Frost augment. So you're getting 400% crit chance. I don't think it does that with crit damage. I don't think it doubles your crit damage, so I think you're getting 400% crit chance and then 200% crit damage. And then we also have secondary outburst, which is going to give us a lot more crit as well. I actually don't remember the exact amounts that secondary outburst gives us, but I can tell you it's definitely a lot, and especially it's enough to get stuff like that. So I'm going to show you the Frost build, I'm going to explain everything in the Frost build, and then I'm going to show you why I'm using these weapons, and yeah. So first of all, I'm going to go through the Archon shards over here. I have 2 casting speed shards, especially because you're going to want to be spamming his avalanche a decent amount, dare I say. And then the other shards I have are actually armor shards, and this will come into play in just a second. Most of the time people actually use these for energy shards, but as you can see, my energy is great, so I don't particularly need that. When we click upgrade, we are going to see the very first thing, which is going to be our aura mod. I hate using brief respite and catalyzing shields, but it works for a good reason. Hiccup. Brief respite and catalyzing shields essentially gives another layer of defense to Frost, and we aren't using him to health tank, even though his armor rating is going to be super duper high, but we are going to add another layer of defense. I thought for a very long time on what exactly I could do to replenish his shields underneath his overguard. Because overguard only has a 0.5 second shield gate or overguard gate, we need some way to buff that up, and we can actually use catalyzing shields to get a 0.5 plus 1.33 overguard, or not overguard, shield gate, which is definitely really good. So this is enough to survive. It's enough to reset yourself, especially when you're running around with his snow globe, which is going to be a very important part of this build, especially because they have recently changed it so that you can shoot through the snow globe. It's great. The next mod we have over here is Cunning Drift. This is just for a little bit of ability range. You can actually use you can use speed drift as well if you wanted a little bit of casting speed and a little bit of sprint speed. Either or really does it. Our range with speed drift is 21.75 meters, and our range with the avalanche, our range on avalanche with Cunning Drift is 24 meters. So you do actually get a pretty good amount of range off of that 15%. So I definitely say Cunning Drift is a little bit more worth it in this case. But if you do like your casting speed as much as I do, Speed Drift might also be a good option for you. We are running Prime Continuity, Stretch, Equilibrium. Prime Continuity is just duration. It's not particularly used in this case, but it does actually factor into the freeze duration. So with a high duration, we actually freeze enemies for a really long time, which is super duper useful because you might forget that there's an enemy frozen in front of you and they'll unfreeze and shoot you in the back and you'll die. This just prolongs that from happening even longer. Same diff with Ice Wave. It's just kind of the same thing. You've seen Ice Wave well before, but the duration really matters with our subsume, which is Elemental Ward. This is actually like a criminally underused subsume, especially because you can do some really silly things with the Toxin Ward. You can make a great shield build with the Electricity Ward, especially because the damage multiplier on the Electricity Ward is actually 15.5 times. If your enemy level scales up high enough and you're taking hits and you are able to shield gate, you can actually do some surprisingly good damage off of their own damage. And we have kind of the star of the show over here, which is the Cold Ward, which is giving us 224% armor. Very, very nice, and I'll tell you why, because our armor is frickin' through the roof. We have Umbral Fiber and Umbral Intensify over here. We don't need Umbral Vitality, because we're not health tanking, so we have these two just together. I do have an Umbral Former on this build. I'm pretty sure if you Former this slot, you can actually get away with not using any Umbral Former, but I could be wrong. I have not tested that, but yeah. Umbral Intensify, Umbral Fiber combining together are giving some very nice bonuses, and that gives us basically 1400 armor. If we 224% that, we are basically doubling it and then plus a quarter of that. So we're probably going to end up with like almost 3000 armor, I think. It's just a lot of armor. It's a lot and a lot of armor, and that's why we're using Arcane Battery, because we can actually get rid of Prime Flow in this case, in turn for Arcane Battery as our energy source. Although it does kind of suck, we are not using, or we're losing an arcane slot specifically to give us an energy pool. I think this is a really good use case for it, and it's definitely going to be super duper useful. Arcane Ice Storm is an obvious choice. I feel like this was kind of made for Frost when they gave him his whole little round of reworks in the Jade Light or Jade Shadows thing. So this arcane is basically just made for him. And then finally we have Icy Avalanche and Biting Frost, which I have explained why or how these things work. I haven't explained why we have so much armor, and that's specifically because Pablo was super duper cool and he changed Icy Avalanche to scale off of 20% of your armor per enemy, which is very nice because our armor is very high. So we are getting a lot of overguard. You can basically max out your overguard cap if you have everything stacked up in one cast, which is sick. It's super, super sick. The armor also affects our snow globe, and our snow globe scales off the amount of armor. If we look over here, it says 16,000 health. If we take Umbral Fiber off, it says 12,000 health. So it scales pretty aggressively when it comes to armor. So giving it more armor, it's going to help it a ton. Another thing as well is that giving it more armor will give it more health scaling in opposed to damage that it takes. So it has a 4-second invulnerability time. So when it takes damage, it's going to absorb that damage, and the armor makes that scale even harder. Although we can't really see what this basically what this scaling is. just get to tell you that it's really, really heavy. So I am going to show you first the amount of health that the snow globe has. And I think I can just summon these guys. Yeah. I'm going to unpause their AI, and I'm going to make them really angry. I'm going to make a snow globe. And I'm going to hide on the other side of the snow globe. Why are they shooting me through my snow globe? What? Oh, they can shoot out. Okay, I see. They can shoot outside in. I see. Okay. Well, here, that kind of ruined it. So here, I will get rid of all those. The bad part about this build is that because you don't have access to freeze, you can't pop your snow globe bubbles. So, you know, maybe in the future I might actually get rid of Ice Wave in turn for freeze. It's kind of a, you know, it's kind of a mess situation. I do like Ice Wave specifically because I can just kind of pepper an area as much as I want. But that was kind of a botched showcase. So we are going to pop Elemental Ward, and then we are going to do that. And we're going to tell that guy to get away from us because he's scary. I might just kill these guys and then show you what it's like when I spawn a new set of enemies. So here. So those guys are dead. I will sit inside of my silly little globe and spawn a new set. The issue is that they wander too much, right? So they try and approach you as they shoot. So like this guy's getting way too close. But we can see the health is scaling, the health is scaling. And yeah. Albeit, you know, it's a little bit disappointing occasionally, but it is enough to survive, especially when you can actually stack your globes. So we can stack one globe, stack two globes, and so we can shoot through this double-layered globe, but they can't. So they need to be on the inside of both of them, which if they're not overlapping is impossible to do. So they basically need to cross this globe and then get into this globe in order to shoot us, whereas, you know, us personally, we are just kind of able to do whatever we want when they are in that state. So yeah, I think it's the best way to explain it, but the globe is a survivability tool. Unfortunately, it would be a much better survivability tool if the radius was actually smaller, but when you do cast it, it does push enemies out of the way. So if we come over here and we cast this in the middle of them, it's going to push all these enemies away from us to the outside of the globe, which is very nice. The enemies that are pushed away from us will also receive 10 cold procs, which is very nice. So if you do need a bit of a panic button, you need to get enemies off of you, you can use that. However, Xmas units will not be affected by that push, which is very cringe, and that's why we have the overguard over here. If we pause these enemies and do that, I am just going to show you how much overguard you can obtain. We're going to use our elemental ward, and we are going to freeze these enemies. So we have a lot and a lot of armor. We have armor from our passive and from elemental ward, and then we use that, and we're capped out on overguard off of a single cast. Yeah, I think we're actually higher than our cap because that arcane ice storm is working its magic. So yeah, we have a lot of overguard that we have access to us, which is very nice. Coming into the brief respite, if we spawn some enemies, heavy corrupted gunner, there we go. If we spawn some enemies and then unpause them, we'll see why we're running brief respite and catalyzing shields is because we're able to replenish our shields underneath our overguard, which means that we have 2 layers of shield gate. Although it takes a surprising amount of time to go through all this overguard. We do that again. We can kind of run around, we get our shields back. It's going to take a second for our overguard to get depleted. And by a second, I kind of mean a long time. There we go, overguard's gone. And essentially, basically, we can't just sit here and do this infinitely and have 2 layers of defense. So you see as our shield breaks, we have that. Though, as I run out of energy and as I spam it more and more, those tolerances are going to get tighter and tighter. So it is only something that you can use once or twice, but it is enough to keep you alive, especially when you are able to kind of run away from enemies and spawn as many globes as you want. But yeah, I'm going to get to the Sibir. I'm going to despawn all these globes, or just push them over here. But for the Sibir, it's not a super special build. I'm just running Absolute Valor, or it can reach, and Thane's Wrath. Thane's Wrath is actually really good in this case scenario because we have a lot of armor. This is only really if you're trying to do damage. If you are actually trying to build combo like how I was earlier, we are going to use Master Shatter, which is a lot of combo. This is kind of broken. It doesn't actually increase your combo amount by 10, it increases it by more. So it's very silly. We're going to swap back to Corrupted Heavy Gunners just so I don't need to deal with all the Xmas effects. But the Sibir by itself will immediately reach 12 times combo, which is really, really nice. That's 11 times after going through one set of enemies. So it's definitely super, super cool. And we are running melee influence on this, so we are able to kill enemies in a group pretty damn well. The perfect Sibir would actually be a Sibir that has negative impact, positive slash, because you can turn this into, oh my god, that guy went fucking flying. You can turn this into a really, really nasty slash viral weapon. I'll give that guy some love tabs. Clean these up. Bong. I think that's everybody. But yeah, this is just really good at building combo. If you hit him with your thing, you're basically going to be 12 times the second you actually get into something, or the second you start hitting enemies. Especially with Crushing Rune, that has a really, really nice stance on it. The blocking forward stance is able to do this. So yeah, Sibir has a really good status chance as well, so it's a really good contender for melee influence. There's not really that much I can say about it other than the fact that it builds combo really fucking fast, and it does good. It's not the greatest melee weapon, I'll admit to you, but it's still good in my opinion, so that's all you really need. For the companion, we are going to be running Death Cube with Hellstorm. This is just a really fun combo that generates a lot of energy for you. We are running Energy Generator and Duplex Bond. I think there is one more bond that we can also use that helps us get some energy orbs. Energy or health orbs, but I don't actually have it. I'm pretty sure there's one more mod here that will drop orbs for us, but Energy Generator and Duplex Bond is definitely enough. If you do have the Verglass Prime, which I actually don't, definitely use that because it's going to be better at killing smaller mobs. But yeah, we are going to take this into Mott, and I'm not going to cut because I should be able to load pretty quickly, but we're going to take this into Mott, and I'm just going to show you around. Will this work at level cap? Yes, but it's going to suck. So I probably don't recommend bringing Frost to level cap. A lot of people have commented on my Steinex video asking if Frost, or not Frost, that Steinex build works at level cap. Yes, you can make it work, but you need to change things. If you want to do it for Void Cascade, you need to change some things. But overall, he is still pretty viable when it comes to your ad clear. We are going to pop our Elemental Ward, and then we're going to pop an Energy Pad as well. I am a shameful user of the Energy Pad. I do not care. So yeah, I'm going to come over here. We're going to get our thing back, and we're just going to mow through this crowd of enemies here. Whoa! You're going to see as Equilibrium kind of does its thing, we are going to get a lot of energy. We just got up to 25k Overguard, which is certainly enough. And we can kind of just walk around and mow enemies down. And yeah, if we ever feel threatened or like something's gone wrong, we can just pop our Snow Globe and then just make sure to keep our Elemental Ward up. Frost is a really good CC frame, and I feel like people kind of forget how valuable CC is when it comes to Warframe. Because, you know, the devs, DE has kind of had a small habit of making Warframes that don't actually do any CC. So people have started just saying that CC frames are really bad for whatever reason, which is not the case whatsoever. Yeah, there's not like a lot to do with this build because we are just sitting here freezing enemies for like 24 seconds. If this was any higher level, I feel like it might be some kind of cool interactive gameplay. But as for now, like there's really not much we can do. We're just gonna sit here and yeah, I don't really know what else to say. It's a really good build. The damage is great. Like, we don't need to really do anything when it comes to this build. These people up here are still fucking frozen, by the way. Yeah, that's insane. I'll kill them for us at least. You can see, because we have so many layers of defense, we don't really need to spam our abilities that much, which is kind of nice, actually. Although I do enjoy Warframes that have gameplay that specifically requires like a high APM. We don't really need to do that with Frost. He is kind of a comfort pick. You can kind of just walk into a room and like, these guys are going to be here for a long time. Like, they're not doing nothing. They're still frozen, they're still just there, and now they're unfrozen. Like, yeah, it's a stupid amount of time. Melee influence will proc almost immediately, so you can just start melting crowds like this. Yeah, the gameplay loop is super simple. Frost is, at the end of the day, a pretty straightforward frame. Though there's not like a lot of depth that you can give him, he's still always going to be very strong. Another awesome thing about the Sibir is when you do build up that heavy attack with your Tennokai, it's going to do some fuck shit damage. Hammer heavy attacks are always super good, and this is going to easily do like millions of damage. Yeah, you can see the status procs with my crazy fast attack speed, even though it is a hammer. Yeah, it's definitely going to put in some work for you, and yeah. There's no more rambling I can do. I'm gonna get to 5 minutes, I'm gonna kill my acolyte, and I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. This is literally comfort pick. This is easy, this is, you know, interactive. I have survivability, I have good damage, I have my crowd control. I can do basically whatever I want. The Hellstorm is just priming enemies with radiation and cold all around, so it's like their enemies are looking at each other, not me, and there's not really a lot they can do here. Boom! The Sibir also has a really cool ability that when it does a heavy attack, it's going to get extra status chance. I think it also gets another thing extra, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to listen to the globe. But yeah, so Sibir gets even more gooder at spreading status procs for melee influence than it previously did. Yeah, there's not... I don't know. Super unscripted video. I'm kind of tired, so I'm sounding cranky, I guess, in this video. But it is good build. I don't know what else to tell you. Enemies are gonna die. Like Steel Path enemies versus Frost is kind of like putting up a toddler against like fucking Mike Tyson. They're not gonna stand a chance like whatsoever. I have 850 energy, and I like what like. You're gonna get through, what, 400,000 overguard before my energy's out? No, you're not. So yeah, these enemies should fear me, really. I probably will make a video on the Mutilus Cernos sometime, because it is really cool. Ooh, piece of candy. Because the Mutilus Cernos is a really fucking broken weapon, and specifically good for a couple of reasons with Frost as well. But yeah. So we can armor strip this acolyte, and then cold procs will also affect the acolyte, so we can just kind of sit here and do whatever we want, really. Acolytes are really no problem. Unless they shut your abilities off, then like maybe they get a little bit scary. I think it's violence that does that, but yeah, it's a no fucking biggie. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and extract, and then I'll end the video. There's really nothing else important that I can tell you here. It's just that this is a more piece of candy. I got 6 fucking Argon crystals for 5 minutes. Damn. Yeah, it's Frost. Frost has always kind of been Frost. There's a reason he is my comfort character. He's just like this. I feel like I've already said that though. I'm trying to make time. Yeah, subscribe and like, and I don't know. I don't know how to grow a YouTube channel. You guys get the views for me anyway, so I fucking do what you want. If you didn't like it, dislike. I don't know. Bye.